Something really interesting, guys. Kevin, let me start with you. So
Sure.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, very progressive New Yorker, she went on Instagram to ask people, looking at the polls and realizing, like, hey, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that voted for me in my district and also voted for Donald Trump. Why? But like she asked in a nice way to explain, and some of the response, she's posting the responses, some of them. Quote, it's real simple. Trump and you care for the working class. Quote, I feel that you are both outsiders compared to the rest of DC and less establishment. Quote, I support you and did this. Felt like I didn't have much of a choice after Biden's administration. What do you think?
Well, and some of those notes also struck a chord when it comes to authenticity, right? They talked about being authentic candidates for office. Listen, Donald Trump increased his share in that New York City district, AOC's district, by double digits. So you're seeing, and I think you're going to see a lot more of this analysis go on, especially in the states where you saw a high level of ticket splitting, whether it be Democratic senators holding their own in Wisconsin, electing obviously a Democratic governor in North Carolina, while losing the state to Donald Trump. You're going to see these Democrats, I think, now reassess what messaging kind of broke through and what Donald Trump was able to capture in terms of the energy on the ground.
The ticket splitting, so interesting, I think.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I talked to Jamal Bowman the other day, outgoing member, also up there in the Bronx, and he said the same thing. He said, a lot of people who went for Donald Trump actually voted for me in the primary. Isn't that interesting that the campaign didn't use me on the stump? Sure. Kind of taking shots. But I think he attributed it to him being just more relatable than than his opponent. And I thought that was also an interesting dynamic when you see, a lot of Latino voters changing their vote recently, going from Democrats to Republicans.
Yeah, I think it's really, obviously this is the billionaire who the working class identify with in Donald Trump. And I think the part where they said they're both outsiders really struck with me because I think it was the economy and both AOC and Donald Trump fight for it. Different ways, different policy prescriptions, but they talk about it. And then that ability to connect with people, especially for AOC being very close to the district, but Donald Trump obviously projecting it via social media during the national media, because he did spend some time in that area, but not a lot.
Senator-elect Andy Kim of New Jersey, he used to represent this congressional district that was a Trump district. And I remember talking to him, and I forget if this was on air or off air, but I said something like, do you know who these 50,000 people are who vote for you and vote for Donald Trump? And he knew. He knew who they were, and he knew why they voted for both of them. And it's just an interesting thing, and it's obviously something that Democrats need to be doing more of.
And to your point, Jake, Senator-elect Kim, after those results came in, went on a listening tour of that congressional district in New Jersey to figure out what was powering the thought behind supporting him as a member of Congress and Donald Trump at the top of the ticket, and that spillover. And we saw it in 2016 where you had a good number of Bernie Sanders supporters, to Khadijah's point, jump over and support Donald Trump in the general election when he went down. Same with Jamal Bowman losing in that primary. You saw some of those folks probably go over to the other side and support Donald Trump. It's interesting, these changing dynamics, demographics, things on the ground.
So can we talk about the Senate Majority Leader race right now between John Thune, John Cornyn, and Rick Scott? And it is so interesting. Trump wants recess appointments. I don't know how many he wants. Like, I don't know if this is I just want these two because we need to get off and running, or if he wants all of them recess appointments. But if it were to happen willingly, it would be the only time that I can remember of senators just giving up power in Washington, even if for a short term. What do you make of it?
I think it's probably more appropriate on a cabinet level than it would be for a judicial level, because obviously the recess appointment only lasts for a couple of years, and he wants those young judges confirmed so they're there for a lifetime.
Right.
So I have a feeling you'll probably see a combination of both. The vast majority of those appointments will sail through the Senate, and there might be a couple that might be a little more outsider that he might go as a recess appointment because they're just not going to get confirmed, or the Senate doesn't want to have to vote for it.
My colleague Burgess Everett just wrote something about this, saying it's ironic because there are a lot of hurdles that you have to go through to create this. And at the same time, it actually delays the process even further. So if he wants to put forth this 100-day agenda, it's kind of flies in the face of that.
What I remember early on in the first Trump administration, I was in the Senate dining room having lunch with somebody, and a very conservative Republican told me that Rudy Giuliani, who wanted to be Secretary of State, he's not getting Secretary of State. There's just way too much in his background, this and that. And it was a stopgap on, they weren't trying to stop Trump. They thought that Rudy Giuliani had too many conflicts of interest. There's a reason for the advice and consent.
Exactly. They took their role of advice and consent very seriously. And what are these individuals that can't get in a 53 GOP Senate? This is the largest Senate, leadership gap that we've seen in a long time. Who are these individuals that he thinks can't clear 50, 51, 52, 53 votes and lead a cabinet department? That, I think, speaks volumes. But as you rightly said, within an hour, 2.5 hours, each of these three leading candidates have all acquiesced to what Donald Trump wants for the upper chamber.
I saw on a different cable channel Kash Patel as CIA director. Have you seen that? I don't know if that's real or if that's being floated. But like you're asking who can't get through a 53 Republican
Patel,
Senate?
certainly.
Maybe Kash Patel. I don't know. Maybe he can. But that would certainly be an edgy pick, right?
It'd be out there, yeah.